My son was talking about leaving home. I showed him why he should stay. My son looked intently at his mother and I across the kitchen table. He looked like he had something to say. Mom? Dad? I've decided that I don't want to work on the farm. We were afraid this was coming. Ever since I'd taken him into the city last year, the lights and sounds had filled his head with empty promises. I knew I'd need to set him straight. Son, we're ranchers. It's our legacy, or did you forget? He hardened his face with boyish certainty. I didn't forget anything, he said. I just want to do something better with my life. I pretended not to feel the sting in his words. We finished breakfast in silence. He glared at me as I took a pointed bite of my breakfast sausage. As my wife cleared the table, I told my son to fetch his work boots. He scoffed. I'm not going to spend my life cleaning barns. Anger flared in my chest, but I bit my tongue. I couldn't blame him for wanting to make his own way, misguided as it was, but a boy his age was like wet clay, able to be molded. He just needed the right hand. I stepped outside, my son begrudgingly following behind. His eyes seemed a bit guilty as we walked towards the outbuildings. To leave home meant our family legacy died with him. I decided some real ranch work might change his mind. Something he'd been begging to see ever since he was little. The killing floor. I opened the door to the slaughterhouse and went inside, my son following apprehensively behind. He'd never been in here before. His whole life, he'd begged his grandfather and I to do man's work. I'd always promised he'd get his chance one day. He was finally ready. We searched the stock pens, their chittering occupants huddling against the grimy metal walls, until we found a suitable specimen. A female, past her birthing prime. The perfect way to let my son get his hands dirty. I stunned her with an electric prod before dragging her up to the kill room. My son bounced nervously on his feet as I chained the squealing beast to the floor. Are you sure, Dad? He asked. What if I mess it up? I nodded reassuringly. You won't. It's in your blood. The mammal uselessly flailed its two pitiful legs as he approached, mouthing something in that primitive language they spoke. Her two panicked eyes gazed into all 7 of his as he closed his mandibles around her head, wrenching it off in one wet jerk. You're a natural, I cried. My son beamed with accomplishment as the female twitched on the floor. You know, Dad, he said, runnels of red dripping down his carapace. I think I like the ranch life after all. I smiled, my antennae dancing with pride as we dragged another human screaming from its pen, just like your old man.